Hi everybody, it's another day, which means another vlog. Well, I'll start by saying that last night, when Karen and I went for a walk, we saw a strange animal on the street. It looked like a cat, but a bit weird one. I even filmed a video for those who don't believe me. I'll put it out later. Then Karen called this cat, and when it came to us, we were utterly speechless. It was some kind of a freak, not a cat. Maybe it was sick. That's why it looked like that. I decided to chase it away, but that bastard bit me. Damn, it burns and itches. We went straight to the hospital. I got an injection. Rabies shot, I guess. I don't know. I think I'll get well tomorrow. In the meantime, I have a fever and I hope I'll see you all soon. Head still hurts, arm is still itchy, and there's some weird bump on the bite. I don't know what it is. I haven't shown it to my mother yet. I think we have to go to the hospital again. Today I'm going to live stream for you one more time, but not about my hand. I'm waiting for Karen and then we'll go to the hospital. See you tomorrow. Hi everyone. Apparently I contracted something from the cat. My head hurts all the time. My hand itches unbearably. Today we've been to the hospital. The doctor was at a loss. The tests were good. He said they could put me in a hospital for a couple of days. Well, we got out of there. Since the tests are good, I think I'll get well soon. They also anointed my hand with something and said that it will get better in a couple of days. Hello guys. Today I'm with Karen. She will help me because I feel very weak. Show them your hand. Well, here it is. It's terrifying. Oh, you have something on your neck here. Look. Damn, it's weird. Turn off the camera. Hi everybody. I'm replacing Max today. You're all asking what happened to Max and how it's going. He can't get up, takes a lot of pills, and he's all pale. He's lying there behind me. He asked me to vlog instead of him, to keep you informed. I'll tell you briefly what happened in the last 2 days. Last night, Max came down, and that bump started appearing all over his body. And at night, they all disappeared completely. Max even got up, and I thought he was okay, and we would vlog. But I saw his mad eyes. And then he jumped out on the street and started chasing pigeons like crazy. And when he caught one, he ate it. Our latest videos are gaining millions of views. But guys, it's not fake, delusional, or fantasy. There's something wrong with him. My mom and I even took his cat away because he wanted to eat it too. Max? Huh?
This is my mother. When she left, she warned me not to go out. But when I saw her again, she was like this. Listen to my mother's words. I never stepped out of the house, living in the house for 5 months, more than 120 days, because the streets are full of man-eating monsters. Luckily, I had enough things at home to eat for a year and collected rainwater to drink. Rain is not uncommon here. After all, I live on the 7th floor, has a big balcony. I will stand on the above overlooking the distance, to kill the boring time. But downstairs the monster always interrupt my good. My mother would look up at me, and tell me not to go out. I take the vitamins my body needs in the evening. Although the taste is fruit, but I still want to vomit. I really want to eat a bite of real fruit, even if it costs more money, I am willing to. I was afraid someone would see the light in the window, so I used a dark cloth and sealed the window tightly. It was 30 degrees below zero in winter, and thanks to a small iron stove that Dad had installed in the room before he left, there was wood to burn in the stairwell, and I would go to the apartment next door and break some benches for firewood. The hardest part is sleeping, because the howling of the monsters in the streets is especially noticeable at night. I was sure everything would be alright, but I was running out of food so fast that I had to think about going out to find food supplies. I looked down the street at the heavy snow, no one, no zombies. I looked down the street at the heavy snow, no one, no zombies. The supermarket was 600 meters away from me, and I used thick magazines to wrap my arms and legs like in the movie. It is a little uncomfortable, but it makes me feel safer. I took a hammer as a weapon and a backpack for food. When I opened the stairwell door, there was absolute silence. It was the first time I'd been outside in a long time, and my heart was pounding. I pulled the latch and something seemed to be blocking the door. I put my foot in the crack and pushed it open as hard as I could. There lay a zombie. He was buried in deep snow. I couldn't do anything but stare straight at me. I wanted to run home, but I thought I'd starve to death in my apartment, so I had to go out. There was no one in the yard except for the monsters buried alive in the snow. Soon I reached the supermarket and walked through a broken window. I tried to avoid unnecessary trouble by stepping on the glass myself. It was dark, and the shelves were almost empty, but I'd find a lot of food in the innermost warehouse. I picked up a case and stuffed it into my backpack without even looking at the expiration date. When it was full, I turned to go outside, but suddenly someone grabbed my foot. I subconsciously grabbed the container. The container fell down, just hit him. His head was like tofu, squashed and crumbled. No wonder the warehouse was empty of food. It turned out to be a zombie here. I quickly picked up my backpack and fled home, but saw a figure at the gate. When I saw his face, I recognized him. He was my father. This is my dad. A few months ago, he got lost, and he was reunited, and he looked like a ghost. It all started 5 months ago. That day, Dad accompanied me to play games. Suddenly, there was a rapid knock on the door. Is my mother? He looked frightened, rushed in. I will lock the door, she told us, out of breath. The two strange men were running after him, one covered in blue or red paint. Just then there was a loud crash outside. We looked from the windowsill and there was a serious traffic accident in the street. For the next 2 days, we didn't go anywhere. On the news, more and more people are going crazy and biting passers-by, saying that this is the new kind of virus from a mysterious country. People were asked to stay at home, but the food ran out quickly, and our neighbors all started going out to snap up food. However, many of them went out and never came back. Our neighbor reminded us never to be bitten by an infected person dying on the street. Soon enough, our food supply was low, and Dad left the house after some simple planning with the neighbors. 2 hours later, they brought back big boxes of canned food, enough to feed us for months. A week later, a large area of the city began to cut off water and electricity. Uncle disappeared while out. My father was the eldest in the family, and he was determined to go out in search of his uncle. He promised his mother he would only look around the house, but once he left, Dad never came back. We scoured the windowsill for him, all day. But there was no one in the streets, no news from the outside world, no one knew anything. I wondered why the army didn't come and rescue us, why they didn't evacuate the whole city, and leave us to fend for ourselves. I wondered why the army didn't come and rescue us, why they didn't evacuate the whole city, and leave us to fend for ourselves. 2 days passed, Dad still did not come back. Mother, all day to tears, constantly warned me, do not go out unless you have to. It was like saying a final goodbye to me. Within 2 days, my mother fell ill, and no medicine could fight the virus. It is said that people who died of illness have been brought back to life, which means he is a threat to me in this room. One morning, my mother left the bed with only a piece of paper left, and my heart wrenched. I went crazy and rushed downstairs, desperately shouting for my mother. The huge cry attracted many zombies towards me, forced over. I had a rude awakening. If I stayed here, they would tear me to pieces, and everything my parents have done for me will be in vain. I rushed back to the apartment and buried my head in the pillow, crying uncontrollably. Little did I know that in a matter of weeks, I would lose my father and then my mother. My mother became one of the living dead, and even tried to eat me, and Dad is standing right in front of me right now. I wonder how he got back, and how he got into the locked apartment building. This is my father. At this moment, he wants to eat me. I hide in the corner, threw a piece of glass into the corridor. Dad was immediately attracted by the sound, and walked to one end of the corridor. I took the opportunity to sneak back into the safe house, barricade the door with a nightstand. I have mixed feelings. Once a happy family of 3, now I am the only one left. It was still snowing heavily outside, so I made an exception by lighting the stove during the day. So desperate I feel a little bit of warmth. In this way, I gradually fell asleep, but when I woke up, the room was choking with smoke. My safe room was on fire. I tried desperately to put out the flames, but I couldn't. As the fire got hotter, I grabbed my bag and rushed out, not even thinking that my zombie dad was in the hallway, but luckily I didn't see him along the way. As I stood downstairs watching the black smoke rising from the apartment, I knew there was no going back. All my food, water and colored comic books were burned, and I had to find a new safe house and start from scratch. The snow was making it tough, but the streets were clear of zombies. I am going to a new safe house, in an apartment building next door. But suddenly an SUV came in my direction. I think of my mother's words, "You should be especially careful of strangers. Living people are far more dangerous than zombies." I immediately hid behind a small garage nearby and watched them carefully. The SUV pulled up below my apartment. The men must have been drawn to my house by the black smoke. 2 men got out, one of them holding a shotgun. Then they looked around to get to my apartment, but then the trunk door flew open, and the Hat Man was knocked to the ground. A restrained man escaped from the car, and all the way in my direction, but then there was a gunshot. The man froze and fell 2 meters from me. I panicked and hid in the deepest part of the garage. I don't know why they killed people. The old man went to inspect the burning apartment, while the man in the hat took out a dagger, cut the flesh from the body and packed it away. It turned out that they were grabbing other survivors for their own food. The apocalypse turned to cannibalism. I closed my eyes and crouched in the corner, afraid to imagine what I was seeing. I closed my eyes and crouched in the corner, afraid to imagine what I was seeing. As the sun went down, it became colder and colder. I had to go indoors, or I would freeze to death. I took advantage of the darkness to sneak to the previous supermarket, here to eat and drink, first through the night, and then think of other ways. The zombie that had been shot in the head didn't move, so I climbed up a shelf, threw a blanket over it and fell asleep. However, not long after, I woke up from a crash. I lay on the ground, in front of the 2 men in the daytime. They smiled and said, "Good night, little guy. Sorry to wake you up, but you peeked at us as you're wrong." I was knocked unconscious by them. When I opened my eyes again, having been hung upside down, I realized that I had been kept for food, because they had killed one during the day, and now they had plenty of food, so they didn't kill me. The old man told me that while he was peeing he found footprints in the snow and followed them to me. It was foolish of me to make such a stupid mistake. Just then, I noticed the Hat Man beside me. He didn't get up. His legs seemed to be hurt. The old man ordered him to put me down, but the Hat Man did not listen to his words. The old man angrily cut my rope, and turned to teach Hat Man, "Son, get up, what are you doing?" This is the first time I've seen zombies eat people, and they're re-killing each other, and I have to get out of here. I climbed up the stairway, which appeared to be an underground building, with lots of explosives around it. Given the old men's clothing, this must be the military's underground shelter, and it looks like they're not holding out against the zombies either. When I came back to Earth, I was surrounded by a completely unfamiliar place, maybe 7 or 10 kilometers from my home, and it was a long and dangerous road back home. My steps grew heavier because I had not eaten for a long time, and I fell into the snow and lost consciousness. When I woke up, a warm current surrounded me. It seemed that I had been captured again. "In front of you is a little girl, innocent looking at me." See, I waked up. She hurriedly called mother. I alerted to sit up. Terrified, I asked them if they were cannibals, and the mother explained lovingly that she was a good person. She and her husband live in this house with their daughter. They are vegetarians and never eat people. At this moment, a man came in the door. He smiled and asked me, "Must be hungry." The table, as they say, was really only a handful of potatoes and vegetables, not a scrap of meat. It is true that under these circumstances, it is hard for ordinary people to get their hands on animal meat. Gradually, I let my guard down and began to gorge, telling them how I had lost my parents, lived alone in the apocalypse, met cannibals, and so on. After telling my story, they seemed concerned. The woman even offered to adopt me as a godson, and we would live here as a family of 4. To be honest, I flipped. It is so hard to be alone in the last days, and there is so much emptiness. But as soon as I thought of what my mother had said, the living are far more terrible than zombies, I resolutely decided to wait for the wound to heal and then leave. And they all respected my decision. After dinner, they showed me around the apartment. It was big. There were many rooms, but only one bedroom was connected to the kitchen for heating. The other rooms were locked to prevent zombies from sneaking in. The girl showed me their family photo album. I noticed another boy. in the picture, and he told me it was his brother. In the early days of the outbreak, they went to the supermarket to buy food, and the brother got lost in the toy section, and by the time they found him, he had been bitten. Just then the man came in and urged us to turn out the lights and go to bed. In my sleep, I heard something faintly behind the wall. It seemed that someone was walking up and down the next door. In my sleep, I heard something faintly behind the wall. It seemed that someone was walking up and down the next door. When I woke up this morning, I asked the girl if she heard footsteps next door, but she firmly told me it was definitely a mouse. I wonder why there are mice. Is there a lot of food in that room? I approached the room doubtfully. The door was locked and would not open, so I bent down and peeked through the crack in the door. It turned out to be a little boy, curled up in the corner and not moving. Sure enough, they were not very nice people. Just then, the man appeared behind me, and you saw him. It was my son. He is sick. He is not human anymore. I looked down into the room again. Soon my injury was almost healed, and it was time to leave. Before leaving, the man made me a cup of black tea, and said it would warm me up. I was so grateful for their shelter for so many days, that I drank it without thinking twice. When I woke up again, I was aching and weak, my head was buzzing. Why had I fallen asleep? When I raised my arm, where does my hand go? Did they cut my hand off and feed it to their son? When I woke up again, where had my hand gone? They must have cut off my hand, and fed it to their zombie son, and they re-sick. At this time, a man's voice came from outside the door. This little boy will die sooner or later, better to feed our son. I was held captive for several more days in despair. Suddenly I was woken up and the women were urging me to get out of here because the men were going to dismember me. I ran out into the street in a panic, but the pain in my arm forced me to stop and rest. I ducked into a shabby gym. I just hoped that after I escaped, the man wouldn't kill his wife and daughter. Just then I heard a hiss and I looked at the door. It was a black cat that had touched it, but its whole body was rotten except for half of its torso, and it was moving by, dragging its whole body with its forelegs. He looked at me and made a shrill cat cry. There was another sound of footsteps outside. I quickly hid in an iron cabinet. It was a zombie chasing the cat. It is freezing. They must be starving. They re-hunting each other. I gradually learned the habits of zombies. They are afraid of the cold, so after the snow, the streets of the zombies disappeared. I plan to leave the city before spring, otherwise, when they wake up, the city will once again be a living hell. Soon, I found a room in the cinema suitable for shelter, but terrible things continued to happen. One night there was the sound of dogs barking downstairs. It was a group of stray dogs, or rather a group of zombie dogs. The skin of these dogs was rotten, their white skeletons were exposed, and their pupils were glowing white. They could clearly smell me, but they didn't see me. They could clearly smell me, but they didn't see me. I was surrounded by zombie dogs for days. The dogs left before I drank the last bottle of water. I packed my gear and planned to search a nearby basement for drinking water. But just as I was getting the water, there was a zombie dog standing at the entrance to the basement. I turned my head and ran deeper into the basement. The dogs were in hot pursuit. The basement was dark and I didn't even know where it was going. I fell down by accident. There was a strong smell of dead bodies. And the dogs behind him were gone. I held my breath, lit a match. And what I saw was a mountain of dead bodies sprawled together. Oh, I see. I am breaking into the place where the zombies go to sleep. Just then, one of the zombies raised its head and spotted me, and soon dozens of them stood up and surrounded me. I knew I would be torn to pieces, and I covered my face in fear. But when the zombie was 0.01 meters away from me, it suddenly stopped, as if it could not see me. I wonder, are they blind, or do I have some special ability? This is my father. He wants to eat me. This is my mother. She warned me not to go out. But because of my carelessness, I burned down the apartment, and I can never go back. I fell into the hands of cannibals and witnessed the horrors of cannibalism and zombies. I trusted people, and as a result my left hand was cut off to feed their zombie son. The heart of the apocalypse has long been rotten. The zombie virus is highly contagious, and even small animals are affected. They cornered me into a zombie lair, where thousands of them huddle in hibernation. The waking zombies surrounded me. But strangely, instead of biting me, they ignored me. I guess it is because, when I fell, my hands were covered in zombie fluid, masking my own smell. They treated me like one of their own. I got brave enough to walk through the bodies and out of the basement. I didn't go straight back to the safe house, because I was sure to meet another zombie dog on the way. I found the nearest house, and let the night pass. But the door seemed to be blocked by something, and I had to climb over the window and get in. The gate was blocked by a mummified female body, holding a baby carriage in her hand. I can't imagine what they were going through here. But I know it was a mother who gave her life to protect her child. Unfortunately, they were still starved to death. I checked around, and when I was sure there was nothing wrong, I fell asleep on the bench. But before long, the pram shook. Was he still alive? I leaned over to have a look. I escaped overnight and went back to the safe house in the cinema. A man spent 3 long months here. The weather gradually warmed up and the snow on the ground began to melt. I realized that spring was coming, that the hibernating zombies in the basement would return to the surface to feed, and that the city would become a living hell. I began to make plans to leave the city and escape into the sparsely populated forest. But before I could do that, I had to get plenty of supplies. I had gathered tools like axes, ropes, and water bottles in the safe house, but they were not enough. When I left the house, there was little snow left on the street. I searched nearby apartments for supplies, including medicine, edible cookies, light clothing, socks, and so on. By accident, I found a newspaper on the table in my apartment, which reported that a blogger had suffered food poisoning during a live broadcast. He was found to have contracted some kind of infectious disease. I also follow this blogger. He is a big eater, claims to eat all the living things on the earth. He is the first infected virus. As his condition worsened, he was taken to the hospital, but before long he went crazy and started biting other people, and so, one by one, the virus spread through the city. When everything was ready, I left the city, hid in the mountains, and built my own safe house here. I also learned to use and make a fire blunderbuss, which made me feel more secure. One's life is quiet and peaceful, but as time goes on, the zombies begin to spread out, and every now and then one finds its way to my camp. I realized that there were no survivors left in the city, that the starving zombies had begun to migrate, and that my safe house was no longer safe. I don't know where to go next. If it were you, where would you build your safe house?